Okay, this is running through the parameters that we've set up. This is a logic map. Here, if you right-click on each of these, down on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see each of the histograms. So here's mouse 1, this is mouse 2, this is mouse 3. And then here are the various regions that are your barcodes. And then here are your CD8s, here are your CD4s, and then here are each of the sub-regions that you've identified, and then over here is a combination of your FCBs. Okay, now we'll show you the Boolean operators. So you can see I can select mouse 1, mouse 2, or mouse 3. So if I right-click on a population, so this is one of your barcodes, you'll see here, this is the green one. If I now go into the top left, I can make this modal, which means that only mouse 1 will be shown in here. Or if I click mouse 2, this is mouse 2, this is mouse 3 with this one. If I were to move to this one by right-clicking, I would get the same information, mouse 1, mouse 1, mouse 2, mouse 3. Okay, so if we move on to the next Boolean, so we'll leave this Boolean for mouse 1 as modal, and we come to this one. And let's look at CD8. So right-click on CD8, or if we right-clicked on CD4, we could do that. But let's go back to CD8, and you see that there's a yellow line. So now, let's make this one modal. And when we make this one modal, this graph, as we go through this, will go through each of the barcodes and show us the populations as they appear. Okay, so now we move on to the CD8s. Let's make the CD8 modal, and let's make the CD4 modal, which means that it will restrict everything but here. And let's go over here now and look at your EM, naives, and CMs. So here's the EM, here's the naives, here's the next one. And since this is linked to the CD4 modal, this will now give you those modal numbers.
And you still can switch this.
And you can go back over here since you've got these modal. So going up to the CD8s, if you now go through here one at a time, it'll only show you those barcodes, right? And then if you want to go back here, you can show that same population just with the mouse. Mouse 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to talk about the autoencoder. You can see it's here. Normally you would click on this and activate it, but Valeri's already changed it, trained it, and we don't have it running on this computer. Okay, so if you go to Tisney, I talked about the autoencoder. We've just shown you the PCA. What Valeri did was he selected these parameters, which are not the barcoding parameters, and he used a neural network to map them to just two parameters, which are 0 and 1. And so now I'm going to show you those two parameters by going to scatter and then selecting 0 and 1. Okay, so now if we want to select one mouse, we make this modal again. And now this map is now gateable. So if I look at mouse 1, mouse 2, mouse 3. Now if I select one of these gates with the left mouse, not the right mouse, left mouse, it shows me this population with mouse 3 or mouse 2 or mouse 1. But if I select this population, then it's purple. This population is is yellow. This population, etc. And I can go through each of those, and I can do now exactly the same thing over here. So I've modal population mouse 1. I can actually modal population whatever this one is, and now I can modal this gate here, A, whichever is A. And then I can go over to CD8 and I can select that as modal. And now I can go over here and select this population, and I can walk through here and find out what's going on with all of these. The reason this has changed, by the way, is because this one is not modal. If I make this modal, these will disappear. So now we can see the difference between the CD4 and the CD8s. They're in completely different locations. So that's the first thing that we can do with this. Okay, now we're going to take a look at this map here. And in order to create a set of gates here, we're just going to put a gate on it. Doesn't really matter what it is. I'm just going to take this population here. And we're just going to call that. And you see now that we have this here. If I right click on this, I get that gate. Don't worry about the fact that there's a small population there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right gate here, because this is the reporting for your 6 populations here. I'm actually going to join this up to here. And when I right click this, as I go through these populations, it's going to show me on this map where those individual populations are. So remember that I'm going to disconnect this so I can see this map. But just to repeat that, joining here, as I go through here, I know what those are, CD8 naive cells, CD8EM, CD8CM, etc., etc. And that, in theory, tells me where they are on this map. Just one more thing to explain, and that is when you open the spillover table here, you see use logical. So if you lose logical, you get these sliders. If it's just use regular log, you don't get them. And this way we can manipulate these. So we don't want to change these once we've set up a map, but I'm going to do it anyway. So if we go to CD45 and we change this, you'll see that if we change that here, this is now going to recalculate, and you see these have all moved. So I'll just put that back again, wait for it to finish. Valeri told me to wait, otherwise we might have a crash. And now we go back again and maybe come close, and maybe our gates will fit again. But the point is, be careful, because your gates, no, they won't fit because I've changed these. Anyway, just to show you that's now added to all of these parameters. Hmm? They are supposed to rescale, but they don't. Okay, no problem.